Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's April Plan with me. We're going to be doing sunflowers for the theme. We're keeping it simple for the layouts and we're going into detail for the sunflowers to really make them pop off the page. As we go on in this video, I'll show you guys how I sketch them, how I do the line shading, and I'll give you guys some tips and tricks, and I'll also show you the pictures that I used for reference, and I can have those down in the description box. But I got them on Pinterest, so you can really find any reference photo on Pinterest. So let's get into it. So these are the reference photos I used. I always start with a guide, and then I kind of just look and see how the sunflowers are shaped, how the leaves are, how the petals go. And you can really make sunflowers as big or as small or as detailed or as basic as you want. So I always do a sketch first, and I forgot to record the very first flower. I'm sorry about that. So I do the stamen first so I can get a visual of how big the center is, and then I do the smallest flowers first because the smallest flowers are going to be in the very front, not behind the bigger leaves. So I start with the smallest flowers in the front first. I kind of just wiggle my pen. I don't make it perfect. You can see there's a lot of, rigid lines. I kind of do, kind of just feel out how I want to make this flower look. And some flowers are really big and bold, and they're kind of like the most carefree flower ever. So not making these perfect, or not trying to get these exactly like a reference photo, and you just doing it and sketching it out and drawing it out as you want. I feel like that's the best way to do a sunflower. They're very carefree, they flow, and they're beautiful, and they're really, really easy to do. The front facing flowers are the easiest because you're kind of just putting pointed petals everywhere, wiggling your brush. You can do an extra line to make it look like the petals folding over, which I'm adding all of those here. And then the side profile flowers are a little bit harder, so I did use a reference photo for that on how to make them look tilted. And for me, it was kind of just trial and error on how to do the petals, especially in the front where they're kind of curved over, starting to curve over the stamen. That was the hardest part for me. But again, flowers are so organic. No two flowers are gonna look exactly the same. So that kind of gives you a lot of freedom, and you can kind of just place the petals how you want, and you don't really have to worry about it looking perfect, because flowers, like Shayda Campbell says, are perfectly imperfect. And I will mention that when I started doing floral sketching back in 2019, I watched Shayda Campbell non-stop. So if you guys want more specific videos on how to draw flowers, go check out Shayda Campbell's YouTube channel. She's amazing. She goes step by step. She makes it really simple and really easy to follow along. So I'm just gonna... So the stems for sunflowers are pretty big and thick, especially up towards the top, because the stem comes from the stamen of the flower, so it's attached to the stamen. So up at the base of the flower, it's pretty thick. So I just went over, the stem several times with my micron fine liner. And then for the leaves, I just, kind of did some pointed leaf shapes. And then shading, it was just a basic line through the middle and then just shaded on either side of the line. line shading for the leaves and the petals, you want to curve your lines the way the petal is going. So if the petal is sticking straight up, it's not curving in any way, you're just going to keep your lines nice and straight. But if your petal is curving to one, let's say your petal's kind of curving up and to the right, you're going to curve all of your lines to go to the right. So then it shows the movement of that petal. And that's really how you get depth and movement into your flowers and into your leaves. And especially when you get into the center of the flower around the stamen, or if there's a lot of petals really, really close together, you're going to do darker lines kind of right on the edges of each petal to make it look like there's shadow. Especially if you have one petal over the other, you're going to do darker shadows, darker lines underneath, on the underside of the petal, not on the top one, on the bottom one, to show that there is something on top of it casting a shadow. So again, you can look at reference photos for all of this to kind of figure out where to put more line shading to make it look shadowy and where to put less to make it look like highlights. And highlights and shadows while you're line shading is really going to give your picture some depth. And so that's how I make my flowers pop off the page, is because I do line shading. So here, there's going to be kind of two different days flopping back and forth. You can see I'm wearing a different sweater, and that's because I always record my videos on different days. I don't do it all in one day. I have 3 kids. I can't do that. I wish I could, but I can't. So I decided on the one side of the cover page to add in, it's not a quote, it's a scripture from the Bible, Esther 4:14, and it says, "Perhaps this is the moment for which you have been created." And I love the book of Esther. It's one of my favorite books ever. So I thought this was just a really good quote, a really good verse to have in my bullet journal, especially right next to the cover page. I think it just ties everything together. So now we are getting into the calendar spread and my important dates and content planner spreads. And I'm just keeping this really, really simple, just doing straight lines for the calendar. And then it's just kind of an open space for the important dates and the content planner. The content planner and brain dump that I had last month was really big. I didn't really use it. So that's why I'm kind of just keeping it to one content planner and not adding in a brain dump. And I also am not adding in my March, last month I did March memories. I'm not adding in an April memories because I haven't written anything down for March. So I don't want to waste paper. I don't want to do a spread. I don't want to create a spread that I'm not going to do. So we're just keeping it really simple for the layouts for like the weekly spreads and the calendar, the things that I'm going to use. Keeping it really simple, and then I'm adding in a lot of detail for the flowers. This is the kind of stuff, the flowers, line shading, making it detailed. This is what I started doing when I first started getting into bullet journaling, so it feels really good to kind of go back to my roots per se and just do detailed flowers. So when I was recording my habits and what I'm thankful for page, it was later in the evening and I was so over recording. So that's why I did not show the process of me, doing all of this. And I was like, I just did 2 spreads. I think they know how I do my sunflowers by now. So, and it was taking up, I knew this video was going to be long anyways. So that was just going to take up a lot more time. So now we're moving on to my cleaning schedule page, and I thought it would be really cool to do a black background and then have the leaves kind of like popping out of it. So I first sketched out the rectangle. It is the whole length of the page, but I went over 9 dots. So I just did a really long rectangle. I sketched out my leaves first. I drew my leaves in with my pen, and I'll show you guys on the next page as well. I sketched out all of the leaves, and then I went around the leaves with a black marker. So it took a while. And then I colored in the black, and then I did line shading on all the leaves, and then I took my white Jelly Roll pen and I went over the stems of the leaves. So it's kind of a nice black and white contrast. It's the leaves of the sunflowers instead of doing all sunflowers. That would have taken a lot more time. So it was still sticking with the sunflower theme because I'm doing the leaves of the sunflowers, but it's a different look. It's a lot more contrast, and I really, really love it. So here I am showing you how I do it. So enjoy that. And the last thing we have going is the first week in April. So this is the first weekly spread. I didn't do a lot of trackers or, any extra things that I have to write stuff down for because I'm terrible at writing stuff down. So for the weekly spread, I'm just doing one sunflower on the bottom left page, and then I'm doing a group of leaves on the bottom right side of the page. So it was super simple, but it was still that pop of contrast with the detailed flowers. And the boxes for the weekly spreads were just rectangles. It was super simple. I kind of did, April starts on a Friday, so I did Friday, Saturday, Sunday on one side, and then I did Monday through Sunday, which is the second week of April, on the other side of the page. And I forgot to write down the calendar for April right next to the word April, so I apologize for that, but I just write down, it's just a little calendar next to the header April. And I also forgot to put down a little tasks box, so I will be doing that off camera sometime whenever. Done. This monthly April plan with me is complete. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope you guys really liked the sunflowers. I loved the sunflowers. Getting back into my roots of doing detailed flowers, it's seriously just makes me so happy. I love it so much. It's simple. There's no color. I don't have to worry about bringing in more color to all my other spreads. It's just flowers. It's the best. Okay, so I'm done freaking out now. I hope you guys liked it. Let me know what other videos you guys would like me to see. I can do a more detailed how-to drawing for sunflowers if you guys are interested in that. But I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Bye!